All right, folks, thanks for tuning in today. It is our last show of the year, like literally the last show of the year. Where it's 12:15 on December 31st. Jeez,
Wow.
uh, 12 hours away from 2021. We've only got one game to talk about. I guess we can kind of wade in on the Pioneer Liberty Hill game
That's a good one.
later on the show, but really, Coastal Bend, we've got one game left, and it's an all Coastal Bend show tomorrow or Saturday at 2 Buck Stadium with veterans and Flower Bluff. Joining us today, um, longtime friend of the show, Nashville recording artist, local boy done good, high school football enthusiast, Jr. Castillo. How you doing, Jr.?
Doing well, man. Thanks for having me on. I've been kind of following you guys and kind of listening to the podcast and everything else you got going on, and doing a good thing. I'm a huge fan of high school football, obviously, and especially Coastal Bend and South Texas high school football. So it's pretty cool, man. I got to join you guys for this little show and chime in a little bit.
Yeah, we've been trying to put this together for a couple of weeks now. Work seems to always get in the way with Justin and I. I know it's canceled a few shows throughout the season already, and man, who knows what it's going to lead to later on. But anyways, thanks for coming on, man. We like to bring different perspectives to the show. We always have media guys on, or coaches, or players. So it's good just to get a different perspective from different folks who are fans of the sport from the area. So again, thanks for coming on.
Good thing, man. Thanks for having me.
For the folks that don't know very much about you, before we get going, let's give a few minutes to kind of brag on yourself here a little bit.
Well, I've been, of course, playing music, doing music since I was in high school. Been playing in bands, and of course, signed my first record deal when I was in college, and kind of been doing the country thing for past 20 years, man. And in and out of Nashville and all around the country, and of course, just a mainstay here in the South Texas area.
Oh, you froze.
Victoria, Schrader Hall, and down in the valley and out in Laredo. So we pretty much cover a lot of the South Texas area, San Antonio, Austin. But of course, COVID kind of hit, and we kind of got sidelined for a bit, but gave us a chance to kind of go over our and we have a new album that we were fixing to release at the beginning of 2020, and it kind of gave us a chance to kind of sit back and listen. And might have been a good thing, might have been a bad thing, but we went back into the studio to kind of correct a lot of the things that we heard, and so it gave us a chance to kind of do that. And we've been doing a lot of the live stream stuff, and every once in a while we'll get out and play a show. We're at Brewster Street, one of these socially distanced shows, but it's we took a hit, like everybody else, but we're just waiting to come back, get back in the game here. Hopefully 2021 with the vaccine and this thing hopefully settling down soon, we'll be back, blowing and going like we were before. So
how did you get your first break?
Well, it was we got lucky. I say early on we started a band in high school, and there was some interest there from the local labels here in the Corpus area, like Hacienda Records, and then of course you got the guys over at Freddie Records there on South Staples, and there was some interest there early on, but I was really focused on doing country, and they wanted me to kind of do a hybrid thing with Tejano, and which we still kind of do that, but at the same time, the main focus of my writing was all country, and we were trying to do some Tejano writing and some Spanish writing and everything else, and it just wasn't. I mean, I'm fluent in both, but my heart was in country music, so we kind of pursued that route a little bit harder. And when I got into college, got the band together. A couple of guys from the area. I actually had my drummer at the time was from went to Carroll. My lead guitarist and my partner in crime was actually from Bishop. We all kind of met up there at UT and played around the Austin area. Played South by Southwest. Did a lot of cool things up there, and got noticed early on, and attracted some attention during the the heyday, the last of the heyday of the 90s country movement. And we got offered a couple of different deals, and went ahead and snatched one up and decided to pursue one, and signed with B&A Entertainment back in the day. And I had my first deal. I thought it was going to be great. We're going to be off and running, and things were going to be just awesome. And found out that after 2 years being on the label, got a new label head took over, and the new president wasn't wasn't too keen on what I was doing. I wasn't one of his signees, so I got put on a shelf for 3 years. But after that, kind of just waited it out, and we've been in and out of labels, up in Nashville since then. But we're still in the game, man. Still playing and still making music, and it's been a beautiful thing. We've been blessed, blessed beyond. So
How I guess for the people, there's a lot of people that think they're country singers, right? And we have a lot of local talent. What would like be some advice you'd give them, like on how the lifestyle is? It's not always, I mean, it's not always like the greatest thing in the world. Like it's a tough life, right? I mean, it's
no, it is. It's a thing. Of course, there's a lot of there's a great upside to it. And everybody wants to be on stage. They want the fans. They want the attention and everything else that comes with it. But it's a job like anything else. And sometimes, like I tell folks, they see us. We go out and perform, and we're playing at night, and we do get to play in a kind of relaxed, atmosphere where we get to drink and kind of it's a party atmosphere, and it's a great thing. I love it. Because I get out there and get to kind of do my thing and play my music and drink some beer and have some fun with the crowd. But before all that happens, I mean, there's not just the practices, not just the setting up and tearing down of stuff. There's a traveling. There's a lot of the business behind it. And I think a lot of folks that get into this business, of course they get into because they obviously have a passion for music. Obviously they want to create, they want to, get on stage and do their thing. But at the same time, they don't realize that there's a business behind this. And a lot of folks will immediately say, I don't want to be involved in the business. I just want to do the music thing. Well, that's mistake number one. That's the biggest mistake that you can make in this business, is thinking that you don't have to deal with the business, or you'll have somebody, some friend of yours or some family member that'll take over and manage you and take care of everything. But you have to be savvy. You have to sit there and you got to know about, about your taxes. You got to know about what you're dealing with, your payroll. You have to, know about, scheduling appointments, and know that the rest of the world, just because your world, you might want to wake up at noon every day and start your day at noon. There's still another regular world out there that's, doing the sponsorships, it's doing the touring and the planning and everything else. They wake up, they're up early in the morning. And so you've got to be up for that too. So that's probably the biggest piece of advice, is just be more business savvy, make sure that you learn the business. There's several books out there, there's several that you can pick up on the music business. And it's not just about just getting up and picking up a guitar and going out there and singing. That's the end product. That's the end result of everything else. But you have to be business savvy. You have to make sure that foundation is solid, because if not, it's going to be a short-lived career, or a very frustrating one at that. So that'd be my biggest advice to anybody out there trying to do something and trying to make it. You obviously have to have the talent, and you obviously have to have the drive, and be ready to sacrifice, because there's long nights and long days, and you're away from home. You're touring. The life of being on tour is great. I've done the bus tour thing and everything else, and it's all awesome in the beginning, because you're like, great, we're on a bus. But then after a couple of weeks, you're like, great, we're on a bus, and you got a bunch of stinky guys on there, and food's not always the best. We're picking up, we're learning to master the art of making meals out of a truck stop, food and everything else, and convenience stores. And it's not the lavish life everybody thinks. You're not going to be jet setting. So, and if you're lucky enough to be on a bus, if you're, for part of my the first tour, we did it in a van, and talk about being too close to, too close for comfort, man. It's not all the glam stuff. You can get there, and it can happen, and it happens in moments, but you have to be willing to sacrifice and put up with all of that, because if you're going in there thinking it's just going to be just this lavish life of nothing but everybody just kind of catering to you, and not having to worry about the BS and everybody else that's around you. I mean, it's a job. And if you're like in my position where you're the artist, I mean, you're not only the focal point of everything going on. We have to watch everything that you're doing and be careful with and tread, carefully with everything you do. You're also the boss. You're also the person that they're looking to for all the answers. So like it or not, you better have them. So, put a good team together that's going to help you have those answers. So, but like I said, we've been in it for a long time. We've outlasted seen a lot of bands come and go, and a lot of artists come and go, but we've just been really blessed. We just have a real passion for it, a real heart for it, and we've been surrounded with some good people. So hopefully, God willing, 2021 and going forward will be just as awesome for us as it's been in the past. So
I want to say I stumbled on your music in like 2012. I want to say
okay.
2012,
Yeah.
2013. I think it was My Own Circumstance was the first song I heard from you.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And then I got hooked in, and I did the deep dive, and it's about like right off the top of my head, I couldn't name exact tracks, but for a while there, I was jamming a lot of your stuff, just low key. Probably like
Sweet.
at least 6 to 10 tracks on there that I really do like. The Rio Grande Valley song I really like, and yeah, there's some good ones, man. So
Man,
cool.
that's cool, man. Yeah, I was born in Weslaco, so that whole Rio Grande Valley, connection there and that song, and just being on spring break down there so often. I mean, I had to write about the damn thing, so
Yeah,
break and everything else. So yeah, absolutely, man. The cool deal, man. I have to get y'all a copy of once the new stuff, we get a hard copy of everything. I'll jet it out to you guys, and y'all let me know what you think.
appreciate it.
Oh, definitely, definitely. Hey, so I kind of want to rewind a little bit. So Spud mentioned it before we started. You got a Ben Bolt jersey back
Yeah,
there in the background, right? So how did you start, right? So did you start there in Ben Bolt, or did like
yeah. I'm a proud Ben Bolt product of the Ben Bolt Palito Blanco School District. I graduated from Ben Bolt. I played football for Ben Bolt, and yeah, a lot of the songs, a lot of the my own circumstance, like you mentioned a while ago. Uh, I wrote that in my parents' garage right there, on the side of 281, right there in Green Acres, right there between Alice and Ben Bolt. And that's where it started. We started playing in the garage, started practicing in the garage, and we'd have. It's funny, but you look at that movie La Bamba, and you see these garage parties that they had back in the day, and but that's being in a small town, we didn't have these venues where or these bars that we could actually play in because we're still too young. But we'd have parties there in the garage, and we'd sit there and open up the garage and invite people over, and they'd sit there, bring their chairs, and it's alcoholic and non-alcoholic beverages, whether they were legal enough to drink them or not. To sit there and gather around and just kind of listen to us, and make that driveway of my parents a little dance floor, and kind of started like that. And eventually, we started getting booked places, and people started taking interest. But that's where I got my start, was right there in Ben Bolt with everything. So
wow?
very proud.
I got a buddy, and it's funny. You hear about these guys who come up in the music industry and whatnot, and you always think, oh, they come from these big music rich towns and things like that, Austin, Nashville. I mean, that's where everything's based out of, really, right? But I've got a
Right.
buddy who played in the Southern Scar band. They're not together anymore, but
Oh yeah.
they're all out of Falfurrious, right? And I was like, well,
Yeah.
what comes out of Falfurrious other than baseball players, right? It's like, so you talk to these guys, and they're all from there. Lucas is his name. He was a guitar player, and then
Lucas. Yeah.
Isaac, who was the lead singer. They're all from Foul, and I work with some guys from Foul, and it's like there's always something coming out of Foul. It's like, dude, that's like the center of the music universe.
Yeah.
Falfurrious, all these talented musicians are coming out of there. So I thought that was pretty neat. And
Yeah.
then
Absolutely. Yeah. Isaac's
hearing
my
your story,
and they're I grew up playing with these guys, and we shared the stage many a time out there, and it's surprising, like you're saying, in Foul, and they're in the Fremont area, and they're small itty bitty towns, small dots on the map. And but when we'd play shows out there was a couple of venues, and we'd pack it in there. I don't know where they came from, all the ranches in the area, from Benavides and Realitos and Rivera and everywhere else in between, from Ben Bolt, Palito Blanco, everywhere. And they were out there. They'd go out there, and for whatever reason, that little area right there in Foul and Fremont, man, is just a hub for music. And of course, Southern Scarred and Isaac Jacob and those guys, man. I mean, they're brothers of mine. And we grew up kind of together in this business, playing together, and kind of helping each other out through this whole thing. So
yeah, that's pretty neat. So speaking of brotherhood, right? So we're here. We're a football show, right? I guess we should start talking about football here a little bit. Uh, we've got one local game coming up. Our last one's from our area, anyways. And that's Saturday at 2 p.m. at Buck Stadium, a home game essentially for both teams, right? You've got Corpus Christi Vets and Flower Bluff facing for second time this season. We saw a repeat game last week with Victoria West and Flower Bluff, and it was a little closer than week one. The saying always goes, right? It's always hard to beat the same team twice.
right.
Right. So you've got another one. Flower Bluff got by with one last week, and it was a lot harder than it was when they met the first time. What are y'all's shotgun from the hip opinions so far of this week's game?
I'll let JR go.
It's like you hit the nail right on the head. I think that playing a team twice is always difficult, and I tend to say advantage to the team that lost that first time around. this game between Bluff and Memorial. I mean, it's a matchup that we kind of when Wagner wound up moving up to 6A, and you took a look at this season, this region, automatically that to me was the matchup, and I saw that happening already. I automatically thought these guys are going to meet for the dang regional championship, not a doubt. And the first matchup, 34-17, advantage Memorial. Memorial's got a high octane offense. Bluff, grinds it out, and it kind of happened the way I expected. I expect Memorial. They're coming in, 3 years. The past 3 years, they've just been, put themselves on the map. They basically did what I had been saying for years. Corpus, has had a lot of talent in that town, and not unfortunately, but of course, the town being that big, you have the zones divided where kids are going to different schools, and you've got some of your best players scattered out throughout. But it seems like now you're seeing a lot of them. Of course, Miller's had an outstanding couple of years as well with Coach Evans out there, but what they've been doing out there, Memorial, has been a great thing, and you're starting to see them develop some of the talent that I believe has always been there, and Memorial's done a great thing. And so you look at a team like Flower Bluff that's become a perennial powerhouse here the past couple of years, really taking control of their own program, and for years they were second to Cal Allen, but they've proven over the years that they've been they're not just a newcomer to the league. So going back to the beginning of the season, you saw that this was this was the dream matchup, and I saw it kind of on paper the way it could possibly play out, and sure enough, here we are. And I think looking at this, it's a beautiful matchup for the Corpus Christi area. Hopefully, it's a sign of good things to come. Hopefully, it gives these teams a confidence, and these coaching staffs a confidence that, hey, we can run the table with this region. We can own this region. We can bring it to Corpus. But looking at the game going forward, man, you're looking at it's gonna take a flawless performance by either team, to win this thing. And I really think that Flower Bluff, they've got some making up to do. They've got a chip, from losing the beginning of the season. I don't know if they were fully playing to potential at that time. They've been tested. I think they've taken the tougher route to do it throughout the playoffs. Having played a little bit of a rougher schedule. Last week was tough for them. Having to do this again, playing a team for the second time, in 2 weeks. I mean, it's tough, but I think that they're battle tested, and they, probably a little more hungry, going into this game. And I would be afraid to be Memorial right now, even though they're on paper. I would easily say, I could see them being a run away with this game again. They've just got such a high octane offense. But if Bluff clicks on defense, if Nash comes out and just starts slinging that ball, and they start balancing that game out and clock managing the crap out of this game, I think that it's going to be a tight one. And I know that Dave Campbell's, they came out with their prediction, that there was a 5 point, 5 points. Yep. 5 points for Memorial. And Matt's probably right. Matt's pretty good at picking these things, and it very well could be. But I'd say that it's advantage Flower Bluff, but it's going to take it's going to take them to have an all-out concerted effort, and Nash having the game of the season for him, and he's had some good ones, but it's going to take him really managing that game, managing that offense, and that clock management. If they can control the clock and play some defense, I think that Flower Bluff has an excellent shot of beating Memorial.
I think yeah, I don't think you left very much for us to say, but I think what I would like to see, and Justin and I have talked about it, and we've talked to a couple other folks. I think let me rewind a little bit further. You were right that Flower Bluff has taken the more difficult path to be a little more ready for this game. They played Brownsville Pace week 1 of the playoffs, and a very, very tough San Antonio Southside team. Couple interceptions, couple misplays on Southside, and that game could have gone the other way. And then a very strong Victoria West team. We don't see a whole lot of Victoria West. They're out of our area, so we don't get a lot of news coverage for them. But Mike Foreman and Pierce Camardio and those guys do a good job at the Advocate. But they had an offense that was putting up great numbers. I mean, their offensive coordinator was the offensive coordinator at Miller last year.
Right.
So he took a lot of their principles and installed them over there. So they kind of went under the radar with our guys here, and then now you come up to this week. But what what I think, and like I said, Justin and I have talked about this already. I think what would really set veterans apart, what we haven't seen from them yet, is to use, in my opinion, their best athlete on that offensive side of the field and build the offense around him instead of use him as a cog in the offense, and that's Carter Centerfield.
Yeah.
We've talked about it a lot that I think if they used Carter the way that Miller uses Andrew Body on offense, as more of a focal point of the offense versus just a piece to make the offense go, I think they do stand a very good chance to maybe make it to that final game in Dallas.
Right.
But we've yet to see that.
You have to if they want to get past Bluff and they want to get past what I'm thinking is going to be Manville, even though Steve Park's good. You're gonna have to you don't have the team first off athletic wise to I think push Manville or Cedar Park with the way they've played, like the way we watch them play. Like you're right, Centerfit is a big piece of that offense, but he's the cog. Like if you watch how Miller ran Body, especially in the playoffs, it was they let him go. You got essentially this could be Carter's last game. He's got realistically 3 games left in his time at Veterans Memorial. So why not just let it rip, right? Like let him come off the chain. And if that means he's run the ball 20 times on read options, so be it. He's a freak athlete. He's a good sized kid. He has good speed for his size, an unbelievable arm. But going back to what JR said about the Bluff, and I me the whole week coming into this game, I'm thinking, okay, Vets Memorial wins this. I think they have maybe a little more gifted team all around. But the thing that I love about Bluff, and I think that I've going even back to the Andrus era, I've never seen a Flower Bluff team, especially in the playoffs, come in undercoached, underprepared, and not willing to play. They've beaten some Cal Allen teams in the past where they probably shouldn't have. They've made deep runs in playoffs when maybe they shouldn't have. Athletic, if you're just looking at that team athletically across the board. So that to me, that's what's scary about Flower Bluff is, I think Nash Villegas is playing pretty good football right now. He was young. He was the big question mark coming into the year. We know Isaac Miles is an outstanding running back. And then just everywhere across the board, they just seem to be well coached. They you don't ever go out in there and look at them and be like, wow, like they are not prepared for this game. Never seen them do that. Never seen them just completely get obliterated off a map like that. So to me, if, I'm Vets, yeah, that would be worrisome because, yes, you beat them 34-17. But since then, they've had a pretty hard road in the playoffs. They've been in games where, they're having to play 4 quarters full out, no mistakes. Yeah, they got a chip on their shoulder, and they're solidly coached across the board. So the unpopular vote, I kind of feel like Bluff might upset them in this one.
It could happen
because it just not knocking Coach Semper or Vets, but like we watched them against Nicky Rowe, and you're kind of watching that game and the game plan, and it's like, man, just let Carter go, like just let him go, let him do his thing, and they kind of sat there and hung around, let Nicky Rowe get confident with him that first quarter and a half. You sit there and let Flower Bluff get confident with you, they're just going to build off it. Right. So that's what's scary about Flower Bluff, and you're right. It's hard to be a team twice, but it is out there that if Carter is a difference maker in games, and like you said, if they let him just rip, he could very easily take him another 2 rounds. So this is a good matchup for us down here. I'm gonna take the unpopular vote, and I'm gonna take Flower Bluff on this one. Matt Stepp was wrong, even though I like him. I love Matt. He called Lampasas over Miller.
Yeah.
So so we'll see, right?
Right.
I hope he listens and I hope he sees that. But no, seriously, this is a great matchup. And JR, you hit it on the head with Flower Bluff. I mean, that's a great evaluation of their program as a whole. And But at the same time, Jacob's right too. Carter Centerfit, he's just this. To me, he's just this athletic freak that I think should be getting more offers.
Oh yeah.
And I think if they just said, you know what, Carter, you're touching the ball, efficiently 50 plus times a game, whether that's 20 runs and 30 throws, and so be it. Versus, it's not like they have an established running back this year to where it's like, okay, we can just hand this ball to this guy 15, 20 times, let him take some workload. They got good running backs, but it's like, God, Carter to me is the running back and the quarterback in one, and he's got a bunch of receivers to work with. So you have to guard those guys, which to me frees him up to really hurt you with his feet, which I think that, if they let him do that, they could really, you saw him in Nicky Rowe when he ran the ball. He runs tough.
Yep.
Yeah.
He doesn't shy away from contact. And, it's a tough game to call. I think the popular vote obviously is Vets. If you just look at them across the board to Flower Bluff, unpopular vote would be
the unpopular opinion. Yeah, would be
unpopular opinion. And I'm gonna go with unpopular opinion just to be that guy. But I think it's gonna be a great game. I really do. I think you're looking probably at a 31-28 type ball game. I think the defenses are gonna relinquish some points, but it's gonna be a good one across. I don't think it's gonna be a blowout on either side by no means.
I don't think we've seen, just like we've said about Miller during the season earlier in the year, is that I don't think Betts has played a complete game yet as far as the potential, not as far as physically playing a full game, because we know the starters get pulled by halftime in all these games, and it's been happening in the playoffs as well. I think they've got a couple 50-point games back to back these last couple of weeks. So you didn't see the starters in the second half really, and they've been prone to start slow. Just like you said against Nicky Rowe, it happened against Southwest, and it happened last week too. So you can't do that against a good team like Bluff. You can't come out and start slow, because a team like Bluff's going to take advantage of it. And the thing with Bluff is just kind of what you said, Justin. They're well coached. They come out ready to play every week, and it seems like, and not saying these kids haven't been making contributions every week, but it seems like you hear a new name come up that hadn't been talked about all season. Aiden Featherby was the big name we heard last week. Had a couple interceptions on defense, scored a touchdown on offense.
Braden Campbell's been playing out of his mind lately.
You've been hearing Braden Campbell all season. Nash has been a very pleasant surprise at quarterback. Miles is, just like you said, Miles is a very good runner. He's been banged up most of the year, so which is surprising. He may have hit 1,000 yards last week, maybe. By the end of
they're a solid all-around team. When you just look at them, there's nothing glaring to where you're like, when they had Brewer, 5 years ago, it was like, okay, like Cody Brewer, that was the star right there. And then they had a receiver, and I think of his name off the top of my head. Anyways, he was another big piece. It's not like they have anyone really like that. You could make an argument that Miles is like that, but being banged up all year, it just seems like they're just a solid team. The last couple of years, there's a solid team across the board, but, and then you look at Vets, and they do have some, what I'd consider just outright, okay, like Centerfit, that's a star. De La Pena, that's a star. Cameron, it's just, they got a couple pieces here and there. I think that you could push that star power on them and be like, okay, this team is the team in the region, which I think, JR said it too. I was thinking the same thing. This is Vets' region, Vets and Bluff matching up in the region finals. It's just if Vets goes to sleep or comes out slow against Bluff, Bluff's coached to win games like that.
Yeah, they're scrappy. They've
scrappy.
Yeah, they've been like that for years, and that's what's scary in the playoffs and in a situation like this where, when push comes to shove, you get a team like Bluff that's kind of, that's known to, they've been that team, they've been that scrappy team, and they don't mind being the underdog. They've kind of always played with that chip because they were in that district forever with Cal Allen, where they're always kind of overshadowed, and it kind of gave them that incentive to kind of really come back and do their thing. And this is where I think Memorial needs to be very careful. I do feel that Memorial's got a lot of depth, man, a lot of different positions. That line on both sides there's some depth there where they can rotate people and they can keep people fresh. And I think Jacob brought it up saying, he mentioned it earlier that Vets hasn't played a complete game yet. We haven't had to see them really bring everybody, throughout play 4 quarters, because they've been taking their starters out, for obvious reasons. But And if you push them like that, I think that they could very well, that's why I like them. And I agree with you. Yeah, when you said that we could see them up, at the state championship. I think if they can't get by next week, whether it be Cedar Park or Manville, I think they have, they definitely have a shot. But this game, it's just going to be one of those things where, Carter can't come out and throw an interception like he has done, a couple of these playoff games. He's settle down quick and settle down and he is a master at that position. He is a good manager. He knows, smart football player. And he's dangerous because with his arm and his legs. He just needs to, just get in that zone where if he's going to be, they're going to be keen on him. Obviously, Bluff's going to bring it. They're going to have to try to keep him as healthy and protected as possible because he is that hub of that whole team for Vets. And but if he comes out and plays the game and just really controls things and does his thing and plays smart like he does, we could see these guys run to the state championship. But in this game in particular, because it's a second matchup, because I feel that Bluff has been battle tested, I'm with you. I think that advantage Bluff in this game. I think it's going to be a close game too. If it goes in overtime, I will give it to Vets automatically. So Bluff is going to have to beat them, within the 48 minutes. But if they can manage that clock and that defense can play some ball and keep them in check, man, it's going to be a tough job, and it's a tough task for Memorial. They've got, on paper, they look like they can blow these guys out again. They've been playing some hellacious offense. They've been, lighting everybody up, but it's Bluff, and they're scrappy. So let's see what happens.
And I told myself I did not want to pick a team, right? Because I'm not going against either one. I think either one's a great representative of this region.
Same here.
It's just if I were to kind of give like you're saying, the advantage, I think Bluff, just because of the chippiness, they have nothing to lose. They're not coming in as the favorite, and
pressure's not on them. Yeah.
And I feel like if you just watch them and you kind of see their reactions at the games and stuff, they just seem like they're playing with no weight on their shoulders. Whereas, if you're Vets, it's no secret. Like, you are the favorite to win this region as soon as the playoffs started. And you definitely can make a case that, hey, we can be Region 3 as well and take that next step. And I think that's something I kind of want to see happen. I want to see Vets take that next step, right? I want to see them be like, okay, like, we are here. This is our region. Carter's our guy. Like, we're not gonna win this, and then, hey, next week, they're picking them to blow us out by 28. It's gonna be a close game. Last year they got so far. Now, it was no secret. We all knew Wagner was gonna do what Wagner did. There was no secret to that. That was a 6A team essentially. They were playing with tons of talent. I think this year, you can have the argument that Vets comes out and plays like what we're talking about. Like, okay, like, let's see him match up against Manville. Like, we got a chance here. So I want to see them take that next step, and then I want to see Flower Bluff obviously push them to the edge. So this is a great game. I'm not sure what's the capacity going to be like. What do you think? Have they released that, Jake? I haven't even checked.
Same as always. They've got the
house.
Yeah, huh?
Stacked house.
No, dude, it's the COVID stuff.
Well, yeah, but you're playing at Buck, and they've given a lot of room to.
Yeah,
not as much as Miller and Vets last year, obviously, because you can't.
Right. I would say, you're going to see the same crowd that we saw at like Miller Vets. Because that was the big game earlier in the season.
That was still kind of dimmed down. I think you're gonna have.
I think that's what it's going to be, dude. They're limiting ticket sales and whatnot. Tickets went on sale Tuesday and yesterday. I don't think they're selling them today. And I think it was max four tickets per person, and they were limiting how many the football players and the cheerleaders and the band and all those folks could get. So I think what we saw in that game is what you're going to see at this game.
That's unfortunate. This had the potential, just like Vets Miller last year, just because the surrounding areas. Who doesn't want to come watch a game like this, right? It's huge.
Jared, have you been to any games this year?
Well, I live right by the stadium here in Beeville, so I've just been driving by, doing that. But yeah, it's just because I've been trying to be careful. I have not made any games, but thank God for folks like Real Sports, and these folks have been broadcasting these games. I've been able to catch not just one a week, but several a week. So it's been that's been a good consolation. But being the fan that I am, I just love being there in the stands and just watching them live, and it's been kicking my butt a bit, that I haven't been able to get out there. But the minute that everything gets better, I can't wait to get to sit out there and watch a game again. But
I was wondering because I thought you were based out of Beeville. I was wondering,
yeah,
you follow Trojans pretty
yeah.
hard throughout the year.
Yeah, I've been a big fan. As soon as I moved here, of course, I got a lot of flack because being that I grew up in that Alice area there in Benbolt, Beeville started playing Alice a bit in the playoffs, and they would get blown out. And so over the years, I became a Trojan fan. I've been a huge, of course, Coach Sosa, when he was here his first go around, he was my neighbor, and now Eric, his son, is my neighbor here in the back. So, and we live, like I said, a block away from the high school. And just a huge Trojan fan now, and I'm glad to see the Sosas back in town. They've it was a rough year this year, but I know what do we finish 2-8, but that's got to be probably some solid football for a 2-8 record. If you look at those games and how they took everybody to the freaking test, everybody. I mean, played some really good teams that they lost to a lot of the playoff teams. I mean, they took Miller. What was that, 80 something to 70 something?
Yeah.
Basketball game that was going on over here, but they've got a really good team out here, and I think the Sosa's got a good program, and you'll see these guys bounce back. It was just that is a hellacious district, that Port Lavaca, Cal Allen, Miller, add Alice to the mix, and then Beeville and Toloso, and you've got it's just aside from this district here with Vets and the Bluff. I mean, I think this district that we're in over here in Beeville, man, it's great, man.
Yeah, and we called it before the season started that somebody from that district was gonna go to the region finals.
That Miller Beeville game reminded me of was it 07-08 Lake Travis Beeville in the Dome?
Oh yeah, at the Alamo Dome. Yeah,
just like that game. Not quite as high scoring first time around, but the back and forth and just the offensive differences. You had a high powered offense with Gilbert versus the slot wing tee with Sosa, and it just with haymakers left and right. That was when I was watching the game on my phone, I was just thinking, wow, this is just like Lake Travis all over again. And out, unfortunately, but
reminded me of too, because I mean, as soon as I saw the game just going crazy like that, I had to just venture out and go watch from the state, from the fence a little bit. But it was just nuts, and it took me back to that Lake Travis game there at the Alamo Dome, and that was just unfortunate that Bevo lost that game, but it could have gone either way. Just there was that one exception there at the end away where Sosa could have easily thrown a touchdown, and it could have been a whole other outcome there for Bevo. But yeah, it reminded me a lot of that too.
You're a fan of the game like we are, and you can't help but notice. I was talking to Jacob at work. Globe Life Park is the place to be this week. You look at the games.
Hey, they got the stream. NFHS has a stream for Duncanville, DeSoto.
Yes, thank God. There's 6 solid games coming up in the next 3 days. So that's that. If you're just a fan of football in general, get the app. $9 to watch some of the best quality football across the board.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man, absolutely.
And then on top of that, you get a potential chance to look to see what Cedar Park and Manville have.
There you go.
Obviously, Jacob, Sherryland Pioneer and Liberty Hill. We're going to talk about that one just because
I was going to use that little Beeville Lake Travis segue in it because you got the same matchup coming up. I mean, you got the slot T against the high flying air raid offense up in San Antonio this week on Saturday. Right. And speaking of using your quarterback as a weapon versus a cog in the machine, Eddie Lee Marburger, man. What do you have? 10 touchdowns? 10 touchdowns last week, 6 running, 4 throwing.
He runs it a lot more than what I realized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That might be there's letting him rip. This is his last part of the year. I mean, this is it.
Yeah. I mean, it's potentially your last game, right? I mean, so all bets are off and you put everything on the table. It's going to get you to win, which is.
Playing with a chip on your shoulder, any team from the Valley. I mean, I saw it back when 2 years ago when Mission Vets, did the whole Gilpin with Landry out there. I mean, they were playing with, because of course, the Valleys always struggled when they come up against either Coastal Bend teams, and they've been able to punch through, here the past couple of years, and then get it, to these do well against these San Antonio teams. But I know that Pioneer this year coming in. There was a lot of hype, for Marburger, and for obvious reasons. He's a hell of a player, a hell of a talent. And he's just, one of these guys that's a smart football player, like we were talking about with Carter. Just like Carter, he's a master. They're at the helm. They're behind center, and they've got not just the whole thing with a valley riding on them. Trying being that last team standing, but just a chip that a lot of folks, they're already being dismissed left and right, that they're not going to be able to do anything. But I like this matchup against whatchamacallit. Oh my God, I just lost the Liberty Hill. I like the matchup because I think there is a big advantage because Marburger, he can run the ball, he can, but they air that sucker out like crazy. They put up points like nobody's business. And I like the story with Liberty Hill and with their coach. Of course, they lost their coach, early on in the season. So they're playing with a big heart and heavy heart for him. And they're just a good program. They've just been year in, year out, just a perennial up there in that area, in that Central Texas area. But I like, Pioneer in this matchup. I think that that offense against Liberty Hill's defense matches up well. And if he does what he does, like I don't know if he'll put up 10 touchdowns like he did this past week against Liberty Hill, but God forbid he does. I mean, look out. You got something really brewing down there in the valley that I don't think anybody predicted.
Yeah. No. Yeah, and of course they've got the whole valley behind them since the last team standing. And we talked about this last year, and you hear it every year is the valley becomes a fan of the last team standing, right? Yeah. So they've got everybody south of Raymondville on their shoulders right now. Everybody's a Pioneer fan right now. And going back to that, what on paper, I mean, it looks like a very good game. What worries me though is that kind of people score on Sharyland at will, and Sharyland a couple of weeks ago had a big problem with Marble Falls. Came down to a recovered onside kick, and just running the clock out to keep that, because towards that fourth quarter, last 5 minutes of the game, that's all I got to watch was the last 5 minutes of the game. Marble Falls is breaking off 70-yard runs, to tie a ball game up and go up by 3, and Liberty Hill, I think it was like 40-7, Marble Falls during the regular season.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, I hate comparing that, doing that. Well, this team beat this team, but that team beat that team. But it's Liberty Hill. Yeah. If it was, I don't know, anybody else, it'd be different. But these ball control offenses, and we saw it with what the scores we saw with how Canyon Lake kept Ace Whitehead off the field against Lampasas, almost beat Lampasas. You saw it with Rockport Fulton with Miller early in the season, where they had that ball control offense, and they called a great game that game.
You're out when they get this far.
What's that?
Cal Allen does the same thing when they get this far. That's their whole MO. Hell, they do it all year long. It seems like that they're cool with having 6 possessions if the other team only gets 2. And I mean, they don't care. So,
they did it to Needville last year. Remember that? I think Needville had the ball for 6 minutes and scored 21 points. However, Cal Allen held it the rest of the game and won, I think, 28-21. And I think that's what you're going to see this game, is that Sharyland's going to score when they get the ball, but how often are they going to get it?
I think it's going to be very comparable to, was it last year's? It was last year's Kerrville Tivy and Port Lavaca Calhoun. It was like Kerrville Tivy had the spread offense like they always run, and they were scoring kind of at will against Port Lavaca.
Was that last year?
It was last year, making them work. And then, Port Lavaca rip off an 80-yard run out of the triple option. So I think you're going to see that with Liberty Hill. I think we're probably talking plus 90 on the.
You think so? Combined score?
I'd give them a 90 on the over on the over.
Over under, yeah.
Yeah, I would think I think you're talking probably 40, 50 plus points for both teams here. I just think so. I don't see Pioneer, unless Liberty Hill's purposely going to run out of bounds every, 12 yards, or just go up the middle 5 times in a row. I just think you're going to see them just ripping off big runs on each other and big pass plays on each other. Unless Liberty Hill has I haven't seen their defense. Who knows? They might come in and just stifle that throwing game. You never know. But if I were,
they held Rouse in check last week.
I would lean more towards the Kerrville Port Lavaca matchup, because I think Pioneer's got that kind of offense. But but that's why they play the game, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I can see definitely doing. I mean, like you said, high scoring game, big time, because that Marburger puts up points, it's going to be hard to contain him, because if he doesn't do it through the air, he's doing it on the ground. And
He's not going to go away quietly. No way.
no, and he's got like I said, a lot to prove. I mean, there was the comparisons to Landry Gilpin about 2 years ago, and he's trying to kind of played in his shadow a bit. And Landry did cast a huge shadow down there for the Valley and set the bar high. I mean, those mission quarterbacks, if you look at the stats, I mean, top quarterbacks just in the Valley all seem to have come from that era. You look at go back to the Coy Detmer era, the Lupe Rodriguez era, and then you got, of course, Landry Gilpin, and then here comes, Marburger, who's just, kind of really trying to get out of everybody's shadow and do his own thing. And I think he kind of has. And playing with that kind of chip, I think is going to really, they're going to have to really, do something to stop him, because he's going to bring it. But it's all going to be up to see what that Liberty Hill defense does. And if they allow, Marbury to get crazy like that, because if they just give him an inch, he'll take him. He's going to take it to him.
Have they, has the Valley ever went to the next round right here? Could this be, or I'm sure they have, but how long has it been since they went to round, the region or semifinals?
They've had, I think, did Rio Grande City years ago or
Vets did that?
Vets did it. Didn't they play Vets that one year?
No, I don't think Vets.
That was 3 rounds.
I think in the finals, but they've won. The only team that's won state in the Valley is 1962, the Class 2A Donald Redskins. They won it back then in the day, but that's the only one. And they've had a couple of teams here recently that I want to say that an Edinburgh my final point, and that got blown out. And then maybe I know Rio Grande City here a couple of years ago when they had the quarterback for A&M Kingsville, Gonzalez, I guess, when he was there. I think he made a run too, but it's been a while. I don't think anybody's made it to the semis from the Valley in probably well over.
I think the last one was 2012, and it was Port Isabel.
Last region finals was Gilpin and them against Wagner. Wagner won, and then Wagner one got beat by Shadow Creek, and I think Shadow Creek lost that next game.
Yeah, but I think
State, but
Port Isabel was the last one that got to the semis. I think that was 2012, and I think they had another run in 2003, and then they had the one in '94. But I think as far as there you go, Ken Martin. There's a shout out.
Yeah.
I think other than Donna, I think that's the furthest that a team has gone. And you see some other ones in there. There was a big debate. Alex and Ken are going back and forth as far as spitting these teams out that went back. If you remember back in the '90s, JR, I mean, the playoffs, it wasn't as big, right? So you didn't have as many rounds. 5 rounds was the state finals. Yeah. So I mean, it was different. So it's different eras, and how far you're comparing, how far a team went. It's kind of different.
Yeah, and you got a lot of guys will sit there and say, "Oh, it's not the same. It's watered down." And I don't think it is. I think it's actually. I mean, even though, yes, I know they can make an argument to say, you have a 5A division that only had, go back to what 89 was the last year that they had a single state champion in the 5A or any division. Yeah. But I think that there was a lot of, there was a big gap between the enrollments. You had some teams that, some schools that had 3,000 plus kids, and, in a 5A division that was playing against another team that had 1,600 kids, where you needed these little Division I, Division II, type setups. And I like that, because I think it levels the playing field a bit. But yeah, you go back those years. I mean, the Valley did have, I know Far San Juan Alamo, PSJ, had a couple of years where they went to the state finals. I think right before Donna, right around that time around Donna. Westaco had a good run, like in the late 50s too. The Mission teams with Coy Detmer, I know they had a good run too. I think they bowed out. I don't know, it was the quarterfinals or the semifinals to Willow Ridge, Sugarland Willow Ridge years ago. But yeah, it's just, and it's not. I think you're seeing now with the divisions, the opportunities opening up. Just like when opened up my Dave Campbell's and saw that, well, after the realignment, and I saw that San Antonio had gotten shaken up with teams moving up to 6A and everything else. All of a sudden I saw Vets and Flower Bluff. I thought this is perfect. We're now going to have a shot to take that next step and get into the semifinals, and maybe make this a regular thing. With Wagner leaving up to 6A. But I think that the Valley, with in the D2, I think there's an advantage there too, where you're going to start seeing, hopefully, some teams that get over that. I don't is, and maybe we can probably sit here and talk about it a whole other show. But what is that hurdle, that mental gap that's keeping those Valley teams from making that big step? Because they've got some great kids, they've got some great talent, and there's no denying. You've seen a lot of them go on and play big ball, at some of these other schools. But I don't know. Maybe it's going to take it's a team like Pioneer, having the success this year, and I think Gilpin and is doing a great thing there at Mission Vets, and when his son made that run back in 2018, stories like that, where you're seeing teams like that, break through, and maybe giving the rest of these teams the confidence that it's not just, two wins in the playoffs and we're done, or 2 rounds and we're done type thing. So anyway,
before we got that Pioneer and Liberty Hill one, though, one good matchup also you could look back on that's very similar was the 18 season. It was Liberty Hill and Carthage, game before state in the semifinals. Which had a very similar offense to what Pioneer does, where they air it out, and they put a little run in there as well. And you saw that game was like 44-41. Liberty Hill won.
Right.
So you might see that's probably a pretty good. I would assume. What I'm going to look at that game is I'm going to see it as that game, that matchup again. And I think I'm going to give the advantage to Liberty Hill in this one. They're just playing with so much emotion right now, and they're just a really good team. They're well coached too. So that's another very good game to get to watch. I think I want to say it's going on the exact same time. Flower Bluff.
No, it's a late game. I think it's at 7.
Oh, there you go. Then we got a chance to watch that on NFHS. And
yeah, it's going to be there. One of the things, I'm looking this up real quick. Because I just want to make sure I got his first name right. But Coach Lee from Cherryland, believe it or not, I saw this the other day. Real Sports shared it on Twitter. His dad, David Lee, was actually the guy who came from Nebraska and brought the high flying offense to Mission.
Yep.
Back in the 70s, early 80s. Brought their whole staff down. There's a very good article on it that our folks from Hebronville shared with us. Javier Ramirez shared it on an article on a tweet that we put out there, where kind of what you said, JR, something in the water in that Mission area right there, the Mission Cherryland area, with all the quarterbacks they've been pumping out of there. He had an interesting story about these guys that came out from Nebraska, where they wanted to coach in Texas. Coach Lee wanted to be coach in Texas. It was one of his things. So he came down and went to a coaching clinic, and his staff was the only one that stayed in this run and shoot offense clinic back in the 70s. And went down to Mission and incorporated it there, and you saw the results, and you're still seeing it. So I thought that was pretty interesting that Pioneer's head coach, that was his father, who kind of same philosophy, and just start chucking the ball around everywhere.
That was his dad. Yep. And they did some great things. I mean, and of course, Detmer picked up where Lee left off, when he took over Mission, but it just, it completely just, I remember seeing those teams, going to those games and watching these teams just air it out. It was just, I don't think a lot of these teams knew what hit them, because nobody from the Valley had been airing the ball out like that. They not that's not like the run and shoot, not that shape, the way they've been doing it. But it was a pretty amazing thing, and it's a really neat story to see that his son's kind of following his dad's footsteps and kind of continuing that legacy, of doing some great things with some with the air show down there in Mission, just over at Pioneer at this time. But it's a really good thing, really neat thing.
That is a pretty cool story.
Yeah. So we're getting pretty close to time here. What do y'all's plans for tonight? You guys got any plans tonight?
I don't actually. We were supposed to be playing a couple of different shows and everything else. We're supposed to there was a little acoustic show that they asked to play out in there in Corpus, and things got a little scary because they wound up, overbooking it, and then they had to kind of pull back on some people. And then we had a ranch party that we're supposed to be playing at too that got canceled because of the weather and the rain and all that kind of good stuff. So I know I'll be drinking some adult beverages and probably sick and watching a little football or something, but nothing big. This is probably the first New Year's Eve in a long time that I'm just kind of being, just kind of chilling out at the house and just hanging here. So what about you guys?
It's definitely a strange one, man. I was talking to my wife this morning. It doesn't feel like December 31st.
No.
Just I don't know, man. It's just weird. There's a weird vibe to the whole thing, dude. I don't know. We're not doing anything, man. I think we're just gonna hang out here, open up the bar in the garage, and maybe have a few drinks, and that's really it, man. I mean, it's weather's been crappy all morning. I mean,
yeah.
So.
Yep.
Bud?
I'm gonna get passed out drunk on my floor in my house. That's about it.
That's a plan right there. Man with a
Yeah.
I was gonna do a bonfire. I thought we were gonna possibly do the bonfire with Luke and fireworks, and then last night all the rain. That's obviously out of the equation, and then I really like going out and about, and it's just there's no like motivation to go out and about. So I think I'm just gonna stay here, liquor up, and chill, watch whatever.
It's just weird. Yeah, I may go live later. Go topless, go live or something later, man.
I want to try the Cody Go tequila, so I might get that and make some margs.
Hey, when are you gonna? Yeah, you're gonna start a tequila brand, JR? I mean, that seems like that's the new thing to do right now with the country guys.
Everybody's been asking me. In fact, here a couple of years ago, we thought about that. We had a couple of people approach us about it, and we might come up with something. We thought about a guy from Mexico was a good buddy of one of my promoters, and he hit me up about it, and he's like, "We can do this. We can, sit here and we'll get these fields for you and secure them for you down here, and we'll all the agave plants down here, and that'll just be just for your brand of tequila." So if nothing else, just to kind of maybe do that, I might just do it. I mean, we might just lose our our tail and a lot of money and stuff, but it'll be a lot of fun, man. Tasting the product and testing the product, and just to have that be kind of a cool thing, man. I mean, cool. I might be looking at those bottles of tequila with a little disgust with knowing how much money went into it, but we might do it, man. It's something that kind of like you said, it is kind of trending, and we've been approached. So I don't know, we might do it. So
be cool.
Coke is my favorite. If you're talking about Cody, that's my favorite tequila right now.
Is it really that good?
I love it. The Rosa one, that Rosa brand, they age it in Cabernet cask, so it's got a kind of a pink hue to it, and it's got kind of a little bit of it's not a super sweet type taste to it, but it kind of smooths off the edges on it, and I can sip that thing neat. I don't need to chill that thing or ice it up or at all or put it in anything. I'll sip it like that, and that is my favorite right now. That Rosa one. So yeah, you get it. Let me know what you think, man. I love that stuff. But they're all their varieties are great, man. So, and it's not just because of George Strait tequila. Actually, they put some good work behind that stuff, and some good taste testers, man. It's good stuff. So
try it out.
Duke with tequila. So there.
All right, you guys got anything before we sign off?
Yeah, man, it was fun. It was good having JR on the show. Brought a lot of
man.
This was definitely, this was fun. I know that we talked about doing it here a couple of weeks ago, but going forward, if you ever need somebody to sit here and chat y'all up and talk too much and and get y'all off topic for a bit, hit me up, man. I'd love to come.
Man. I think we need to get together offline, have a few beers. I think that's what needs to happen. I think that's the next step.
What's that joint out in Beeville? The little, it's got the it's the burger joint. What do they call it?
Oh, Sammy's Burgers and Brew.
We'll meet up at Sammy's.
Yeah, something like that, man. Figure something out.
There's a spot in town, but
hey, beer and burgers on me, man. Definitely, let's do something like that, man. Sounds good to me, bro.
Yeah, we'll work it out. Well, thanks for coming on, JR. We appreciate it, guys. Thanks for following us this year. Maybe we got another show. Well, we'll have another show next year, right? Mm-hmm. Somebody's going to win. Somebody from Corpus area is going to win. There's going to be at least one more game, right? So tune in. Keep up with the games this weekend. You guys be safe tonight over the weekend, and see you in 2021. Thanks, guys.
Love you guys, man.
Appreciate it, man.